history has had many recurrent experience with events that have caused immediate and catastrophic effect for the devastating damage caused by the Florence flood of 1966, which required restoration work that lasted over 50 years. In 1993, we see that we are at the Giurgofili after the damage caused by the mafia bomb attack in Via dei Giurgofili. Since 29, the Institute has been almost on the forefront following an extraordinary sequence of seismic events, starting with the earthquake of L'Aquila with securing and protection of an artwork store in the Museum of Celano. In 2012, following the earthquake in Emilia-Romagna, with the organization of the laboratory and the safeguarding of artwork at the Palazzo Ducale in Sassuolo. Here, the joint experience with the OPD at the ICR allowed for an operational model with intervention criteria and methodologies that serve as a guide for subsequent emergencies. In 2016, first with the activity of recovering artworks damaged in Lazio and Marche and in Umbria, where from 2017 to the present, we have been in operation with the organization of the laboratory and the activity of ensuring safety of cultural heritage artifacts kept in the storage unit of Santo Chiodo in Spoleto. In 2022, OPD, together with ICR, was involved in order to provide specialized support for the recovery and protection of cultural heritage artifacts by the flooding in the Marche region. And then in 2023, it was unfortunately necessary to intervene once more due to flooding in the Tuscany, which caused extensive damage to archive and library heritage. From a methodological point of view, PD therefore has to act after the damage as occurs with the recovery, securing, and restoration. The recovery of artwork and their handling and packaging on site represent a crucial phase in the process of conservation. These phases must be organized and carried out by specialized personnel according to the modalities adapted to the artifact characteristic and conservation condition, as well to their volume, weight, and using appropriate material and equipment. The emergency experience touched us that for a damaged artwork, waiting a long time needed to carry out a complete restoration is detrimental for the recovery of its material and its artistic values. Securing and protection is therefore to be understood as an absolute priority for preservation and transmission to the future to the cultural heritage artifact, and thus for the restitution of the artwork to the community deprived of its symbolic and social values. Ensuring safety of an artwork focus. So, artwork focus on intervention that, even if partial, aim to arrest and prevent further deterioration of conservation condition that could turn into the structural degradation phenomena, can be difficult to recover if not dealt with quickly and with much higher cost. So the intervention are carried out with operational phases and procedures either in many different types of artwork with different constituent material, and thus diversify conservation conditions and needs according to the conservation urgency of the artifact. The know-how acquired has allowed identify the main type of degradation caused by different traumatic events, and develop the main intervention phases. The operations that are most frequently out to stabilize the damage at work, including also the deinfestation using appropriate methods. In this regard, in the line that already shown by Caterina Rubino are particularly significant and of historical importance, and which safeguarding, because are inside there are safeguarding measures of cultural heritage at work following emergency events are also explained. An example, this is the lab of Santo Chiodo storage unit. An example of a significant recovery was that the crucifixion of the Church of Sant'Antonio Abate, an oil painting on canvas from Frascaro di Norcia, which arrived at the storage unit in many crumbled fragments. Only thanks to the archival research, it was possible to identify its form and the subject depicted. The impact with rubble and the long time spent beneath more than a year had caused deformation, laceration, loss and vision, extensive losses of painting. Yes. The operation aimed stabilizing the residual pictorial layers, removing deposit and recovery of planarity, which needed to be carried out gradually and in several phases. This allowed the recovery of 9 fragments representing 75% of the surface of the painting's textile support, whilst for the pictorial layer as much lower than, a much greater loss recorded. The condition of what remained of the canvas required a preparation of a temporary support structure, and in order to handle and move the painting in the absence of the original structure, this solution allows the painting to be displayed also vertically. The intervention that must in any case be considered as preparatory phases to do so of the following restoration must be retreatable, and they must be carried out by professionals specialized in conservation of different kinds of artwork. So it's necessary to use material and methods that can be integrated in the perspective of the continuous technical and methodological evolution. There is therefore the need, and the opificio is contributing also to this, thanks to the PNRR funding for research aim materials can meet the specific requirements, such as delicate operation, such as on-site intervention and handling and securing of a conservation laboratory. Thanks.
Oh, yes. No, sorry.
In the Changes project funded by PNRR, as Oriana said, the opificio is involved in the Spoke 7, which is dedicated to the protection and conservation of cultural heritage against climate changes, natural and anthropic risks. We have several research lines in this book, but the most interesting one, as for the subject of this meeting is concerned, is the exploration of the potential of some molecules as binding media for temporary treatments in emergency context. Why do we need temporary binding media in emergencies such as floods and earthquakes? One of the main effects of catastrophic events on heritage materials is the loss of cohesion and adhesion. These issues may arise from mechanical vibrations and shrinkage expansion cycles due to a long outdoor stay with humidity and temperature fluctuation and intimate contact with water and mud. Therefore, in several emergency contexts, we do need to give materials the cohesion and adhesions that they have lost, and that is for three main reasons. The first one is to stop the immediate loss of further matter from the extremely degraded surface. Secondly, giving the materials cohesion and adhesions allows to do the next operations in a safe way, such as on-site interventions, which could involve some mechanical stress, handling and transport to the storage unit or to the restoration workshops. In all these situations, we do need to apply a temporary binder to secure the artwork. From a general point of view, our ideal temporary binder should match some requirements, some of which are ethical and theoretical ones, such as reversibility, of course, and preservation of the chemical physical properties of the original matter, for example, the color, the porosity, chemical bonds, and so on. Other requirements are more practical and linked to the specific context in which temporary binders are used, which can be very hostile and uncomfortable. So the ideal binder should be easy to apply and not require long preparation. It should solidify or set quickly and also provide protection against moisture and further dust, because the place where the artwork is temporarily recovered after the disaster could not have the correct environment, the correct condition for a proper conservation. Fortunately, there is a bunch of compounds that can be of help. These 6 molecules here have 2 distinctive features that make them very attractive for the use as temporary binders. First property is that they sublimate at room temperature. It means that they pass from the solid state to the gas phase without passing through the liquid state. The second attractive property is that they can provide a certain extent of consolidation. For these reasons, these very promising molecules are in the focus of our research activity in the Changes project. They also have further properties that make them interesting. They can provide water repellency to the materials on which they are laid, and they can function as adhesives for the laminated layers and flakes. Among these compounds, cyclododecane has been used for some years in the restoration field as a temporary binder, not only in emergency situations, but also in restoration laboratories. But recently, due to a shortage in the market, there was a push to explore and for the search for other compounds that can perform the task of temporary consolidation in case of emergency. Some of them, such as camphene, menthol, cyclododecanone, and cyclododecanol, have already been tested to some extent in the field of art restoration, while methyl lactate here is a new entry, a novelty, and needs to be studied in depth. In general, there are many properties of these molecules that we want to study before recommending them for a wide use in emergency situations, and to define the best application protocols in relation to the type of material to be treated and the specific conditions of the work of art. The properties we focus on in our research are the rate of sublimation, water repellency, consolidating power, depth of penetration, and any impact on the integrity of the work of art. Many of these properties are strongly affected by the way of application. These molecules can be applied in molten state or dissolved in a nonpolar organic solvent. And of course, the kind of substrate on which they have to be applied as an drives the choice of the application method, because some of these substrates are very temperature sensitive, and some of these compounds have melting points as high as 70 Celsius. Moreover, the way of application has an impact on an effect on the performance of these volatile binding media, because the film properties, the penetration depth, the consolidation power are very affected, very depending on the application way of these compounds. So these are all properties that we are investigating. However, we have to bear in mind that when people use these compounds in emergency situation, the choice to apply a ready-to-use solution rather than melting the compounds on site might be dictated by practical aspects and limitations rather than consideration on performances. Other properties that are very important to test is the possible impact on the artwork integrity. So we are studying changes of color of the surfaces after sublimation and other more structural properties such as the porosity, which can be affected by the interaction between the substrate and the volatile binding media. So the change of porosity is assessed in our research by microcomputer tomography scan on cubes of various materials before and after the treatment. And this is done in collaboration with the University of Florence. Finally, I'm showing briefly the artifact that we have chosen as case study. It is a crucifix recovered after 18 months in the ruins of the Church of Santa Maria Argentea in Norcia after the 2016 Umbria earthquake. You can see here the condition of the crucifix, the structural damages, but also the condition of the surface with the detachments, incrustation, flaking parts, delamination, and so on. One of our former students, now PhD student, has done the first test of application of menthol and methyl lactate in view of the full treatment. In fact, the crucifix will be moved from the storage unit in Spoleto, where it is now, to the opificio here in Florence for restoration. And the choice of the appropriate treatment with the volatile binders is essential for the safety of transport and restoration operations. So I am at the end, and thank you for your attention.